The Gamble House is a California landmark located in Pasadena, California, that opened in 1908. During the 1890s, David B. Gamble of Cincinnati, Ohio, regularly wintered with his family in Pasadena's resort hotels. His father had been a co-founder of the Procter Gamble Company. Photos show that the Gambles coming to Pasadena as early as 1900 enjoyed its resorts and society life, its attractions such as Mount Lowe Scenic Railway and its mild winter weather. By 1900, Pasadena had become the winter destination of choice for wealthy Easterners and Midwesterners fleeing the damp, dark winter. It was, in short, a seasonal playground for the rich and famous. Theodore Roosevelt and Andrew Carnegie were among the visitors who regularly spent months at Pasadena's luxury hotels. Some wealthy visitors stayed on to build lavish permanent residences on Orange Grove Avenue, which would become known as Millionaire's Row. To attract families like the Gambles, the Pasadena Board of Trade produced brochures touting the notable works of local architecture, including homes designed by Green & Green, the city's charter's prohibition of saloons, a flourishing YMCA, and the fact that in a given year there was only 45 rainy or cloudy days. Just as important for the Gambles was the substantial Presbyterian congregation doing active missionary work abroad, as well as the attractive variety of cultural offerings such as concerts, theaters, lectures, and countless social clubs. By 1907, David Gamble and his wife Mary had decided to build a home in Pasadena. The Gambles eventually selected a home on 2 acres of land at the edge of a picturesque canyon and riverbed. Their home was one of a group of houses, designer Charles Green's among them, described as commanding a great view of the grassy-dotted banks of the arroyo and a wide bed of the stream. On the other side of the bank winds the Linda Vista Road in among the hills, flanked on the west by tall, gray-green eucalyptus trees casting deep, dark shadows. This was a majestic landscape, uniquely western and even exotic. Here, one was at the edge of the wilderness as well as on the rim of the Pacific. Construction began in 1908 and was constructed in less than 1 year, which is remarkable when you see the level of detail. The house is the most complete and original example of the work of architects Charles and Henry Green, located at 4 Westmoreland Place in Pasadena, California. The Gamble's house gradually became the center of their social and private lives. Mary Gamble invested a great deal of energy in the early stages of planning the house's contents. A series of small yellow notes among Green's papers show her attention to every detail, whether it how bright or what the shape of light fixtures should be or the color of the walls in the room. Her interest in art, encouraged at a young age by her mother and developed through study and travel, could only have made her more sympathetic to the ideas of the artistically minded Charles Green. Although the house was designed as a winter residence, much like many of the larger estates then being built in Pasadena, it is clear that the Gambles were intent on putting down roots of a more permanent kind. David Gamble lived until 1923, his wife Mary Gamble until 1929. Their eldest son Cecil Gamble and his wife Louise inherited the house. In the mid-1940s, Mary Gamble's sister Julia Higgins, or Aunt Julia, lived at the house where she died. In 1966, the heirs of Cecil and Louise Gamble ensured the home's preservation by generously donating the house and furniture in a joint agreement to the city of Pasadena and the University of Southern California, whose School of Architecture directs its preservation and programs. The Gamble House was featured prominently in the movies. The exterior of the house gained worldwide exposure as the Brown Mansion. The home, which was featured in 1955 of Emmett Doc Brown's in the 1985 movie Back to the Future. and more prominently in the 1990 Back to the Future 3. Additionally, the house was featured on This Old House with then-host Bob Vila in 1987. In 1978, the U.S. Department of the Interior made the Gamble House a National Historic Landmark, an honor reserved for only the nation's most significant buildings, structures, or sites. Today, the Gamble House is a local, state, and national historic landmark owned by the city of Pasadena and operated by the Gamble House Conservancy. Tours of the Gamble House are guided, with the exception of occasional self-guided touring days. Parking is free, although there's limited parking spaces, and there's also a gift shop in the garage next door. I recently visited, and the area as well as the house is quite remarkable. The site looks well maintained, and it feels like you step back into the early 1900s, or for you movie fans, gone back in time to 1955. Thank you for watching. If you like this content, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Thanks.